Hello, everybody. Today is February 19th, 2026. This is Dad and his Lifetime of Stories, Part 27. If you would, please like, share, and subscribe, and send this to family and friends. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I finally discovered who Robert Nichols was. It's Scott, and I was thinking that it was him, but he did send me a message, and Robert Nichols is Scott Nichols. So I'm glad we cleared that up. He was the one that asked the questions about the duck at Thanksgiving and Christmas, and that Uncle Lonnie and Billy had gone out hunting and gotten ducks. Last week, we talked about Uncle Frank and that he was the equipment manager for your football team when you were in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And he was younger, so he was the equipment manager. He also was an excellent pool player and a really good dancer. We talked a little bit about Mom and how you met her at school, and that you went on weekends to dances, Friday and Saturday nights, maybe, and the
It was
kids.
either Friday, either Saturday, whichever one we wanted to.
Well,
It may have been just one night of
Saturday.
either Friday or Saturday, so I don't know which it was.
Well, you talked about Mom pretty much gave you a little bit more information on how to dance and showed you how to dance.
Right.
And you talked about you and a friend finding out where the girls were having a bunking party at.
Oh
And
yeah.
someone said, "Hey, it's the police." And but the funny part was when you and the boy were running away, they were throwing rocks at you, and you took one to the head.
Yeah.
And then when you were running, you ran into a clothesline wire that slowed you down.
Oh yeah. Well, all those apartments over there in New Edition had clotheslines because that's the way they dried things at that time. They didn't have washers and dryers.
I did Google bunking party, and Google says a bunking party is also known as sleepover or slumber party. So it's just another term, but bunking party was probably what they called it first. Um, Going backwards, which sometimes I end up doing that on this video, we talked about after we shut the cameras off last week, your senior year playing football, how much responsibility that you had
Right.
as far as on offense.
And defense.
You played halfback
Right.
on offense. Defense, you were the safety, and we talked about that. But you had to punt and you kicked off,
Kicked off, kicked extra points.
kicked the extra points.
Yeah.
Now, because you were doing all the kicking and all that and scoring points, I would think when you were running the ball or making touchdowns, you came in third, possibly in the state or the district in scoring. And we've talked about that before, but you had brought that to my attention, and anybody that didn't know that, that's pretty impressive to basically play an entire game. Do you recall how many people are on your team approximately?
Well, we had two teams, I know, probably at least three, maybe probably about 35, 36 boys, something like that.
Right. But you ended up going the whole game, and
Yeah.
you were talking about Southern Compress working there.
Right.
You talked about an assistant superintendent, And when we turned off the camera, I think you said his name was Paul Massey, or was
Well,
he the super?
he was down at Federal Congress. Uh, uh, was it Paul Massey?
Well, I wrote down Paul Massey, but I was writing it down on a notepad real quick. You know, I may have, and I also wrote down tall man because you mentioned
Oh yeah,
you worked
Miss.
with a man that was really tall,
Yeah.
and that
Uh,
wasn't Paul Massey, was it?
no,
It was a different man.
Paul was from Newport, and he was a he was really the assistant superintendent, but he was the type of guy that didn't take when it come to running something. He was the guy that run it. He let you know he was the main man to run it. If they assigned him to something, no, that's what he took the job literally. This is my job. I'm gonna see that it gets done, and that's kind of the way it was whenever he. I know he was uh, the assistant superintendent. I thought at one time, and he also run the press, and he had me taking. I was his guy to help him to make sure things got done, because I would go out where they would be pressing these bales of cotton, and as you press the bales of cotton, they went on a little old trailer that went out into the warehouse.
How big was a bale of cotton approximately?
Oh my goodness, I don't know what
Six by
dimensions were.
six or 8 by 8?
I'd say between 3 and 4 feet,
What did they weigh?
and they'd just be about as they'd come up to here on a normal man, I guess, probably the chin or something, standing. So you talking about they were probably about a good 5 feet, just standing on a concrete up that high, and you could go up. And some men, if they were tall enough, they'd be able to put their arms up there and rest or whatever.
How much you think they weighed? 1,000 pounds or more or less?
No, they'd weigh anywhere from 350 to 400 to maybe 5 to 600 is basically what they would weigh.
Now, when I interrupted you, you were talking about what you were doing as far as the job, and
Well, Paul would press the cotton is what he would do. He run the press, and he made sure that cart that was pulling those trailers as they followed one another, it just went out through there, turning, and you could make it wiggle like a snake, just about it, because it was built on a steel trailer that was about maybe 2 foot tall, if it's that tall. And they would put two bales of cotton on there, 4 bales, 4 to 5 bales on each trailer. And he'd be pulling 4 to 5 trailers, is what he'd be pulling.
what was he pulling it with?
So he'd be pulling with a little tractor like the Ford tractor that my dad had cutting grass. It's just a regular little Ford tractor, we call it, but he pulled it with that, and uh, and he would pull it over to the warehouse, which the press usually was. They didn't store cotton in the press room because the press room was filled with other things, with cotton going out and cotton coming in. That was going on that Paul didn't have nothing to do with, but they had a man that would as it would bring cotton in there from the gin, they'd be somebody unload it for him, and it'd be somebody that worked for us with Federal Compress, and he'd see that his cotton got to where it belonged in a certain pile at the time until it could be pressed, and it was regular gin cotton. And now that bale was different from the Paul had taken and press it and make it down half as big as what it was. He'd run it through the press and and then he would put it on his trailer and send it out to me to store it. And I would be over in two or three houses or buildings down from where he was. But most places you could run through this building right in the middle of the what you call a fire door, because you had them where if there's a fire started in this one, it would drop down. All the fire doors would drop down if it's close by to melt the little old thing that held them up there, that held that big old store steel door together. And
All those warehouses were equipped with
well,
sprinklers.
about it. Oh yeah, it was a dry system. Didn't have no water in the pipes, but the I'm trying to think of what I'm trying to think of is
The type
yes,
of sprinkler head it
yeah,
is,
well,
that
not
little
the
thing
sprinkler
that's in
head
it,
itself, but the big system that's down there.
or
There
the
was a
valve
big
house,
where the valve house is, and the thing inside of it there was that big around that you had
a
took the
big
face
valve.
off of to reset it.
Yeah,
I know I've worked on them several times, and but they had a valve system in there that once one of the heads got tripped off, like here in this room, if that head went off, next thing would be the water coming out up there.
high
But
pressure, and it would spray out.
and yeah, well, the water pressure would, but some of them are dry systems, and that's what most of them were back then. They didn't have the wet system because the only way you could have a wet system is make the storage room warm. You'd have to have it warm enough, and very seldom no federal compress had the buildings that had a wet system in it until they started building new systems and new buildings, especially the new system. They could keep them at a certain temperature in the wintertime and wouldn't have to worry about the system.
Freezing,
Yeah, freezing.
right?
Yeah,
When you were talking about uh, them doing the cotton pressing, the press man, is that what you actually called it?
right, right.
Did you say it was extremely dangerous work?
Oh, it was. It was. I got to where I would step in there, but they would know I was in there, and sometimes the right man that was running the press, he was able to go on and put a band through there, and there was a time or two that I tried it and see if I could do it, but I couldn't fold them bands just at the right place.
Were they
As you
steel?
shot the band through, he would shoot it back on the other side, and it'd be a strap there. It'd be that about that much too long, and he knew he had to bend that thing at the right place to put into that buckle. It would already be on one side holding that buckle. It'd just be already folded, and then it had a little opening. I can't do my hand just right, but it'd be wide enough for him to fold that band to go in there, and he knew how to fold it to get it in. He would strap it in there.
And that was
He
metal with
yeah,
metal.
all it was metal.
How many bands were on a bale of cotton?
Uh,
Couple?
no, no, about six.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 6 to 8 bands, I think, is what
Because
was
it was
on
under a high.
as it was coming out of that press.
Sorry,
Si-
everybody, I hit the camera.
yeah.
Anyway, you were talking about the thing being under pressure and the bands, and when the guy would slide it through there, that he could crimp it down
Well,
and lock each band.
he went across the top of it, and then it went to the other side, and the people on the other side shot it back to him to put a buckle in each band that they put on there. And there was 6 or 8 bands I know that actually went over there, and I think it was 8. Because I think they got to where they could put 3 or 4 people, 3 men up there. They were really trying to run out several bales in a certain amount of time, because they would do it by the hour. They could run just about 100 bales an hour if they wanted to, if they intended to try to make a real good day for the boss, and that way the boss, if they had a good day, they would probably get off. And that mean everybody else got off.
What kind of injuries did you see that would
Oh,
be caused from the press?
they was guys that had fingers off, maybe more than one, and he'd still be putting the band on there with that next finger that he had down there.
Right.
It was a very dangerous job, especially if he was strapping that bale, as that pulley man back there was letting that bale off. He was letting the pressure off, and he would be talking to him. Yeah, well, he would know when it was coming down on him, because it would just start tightening up. If he didn't get his hand out of there, he could have some deep trouble. Or if he was wearing some kind of glove, some of them wore gloves. I know I did whenever I went in there and tried to strap it and learn how to do it. Because if you like most people and running something, you want to get an idea of how bad that thing, what those men go through to really get that bell secure. And it wasn't only them people up top; it was one on each end of that bale of cotton. They were doing their thing that they had to do to make that cotton bale was sitting up straight, and the bagging was on there the way it should be, where they could tuck it. That guy had to have enough pressure on that band that he put his, as he took the bale uh, of cotton, because you come through there in a case, like that, of jute bagging, and he'd catch end of it and fold it just right, and he would fold it and put it in at the ends as that bale was coming down. He would put it in that first or second band there, and once he got out of it, most of them didn't wear gloves there, because they could go on and fold that jute bagging, and just have everything folded and look just like a neat bale of cotton come out of there.
Did bands ever break or come off or
Oh
crack
yeah, if they were used bands,
under tension?
because they had a guy just about around the clock, not around the clock, but around work time. He was over there making bands, and he'd staple a certain amount of band, like it was 8 foot or whatever it was. It went over through there and back through it. He'd make sure it went to a certain amount of length. He had to have it because it came there with it. The band came in with that particular length. I mean, they were cutting them at other places and send them in. They would come in the truck, and there'd be a man over there whenever the press run putting bands together.
What would the process be after it came out of the press and the pressman was done? What stage did it go to next?
The next stage, it was dumped against usually a post. It would be another man with a forklift, not a forklift, but one of them pinches each side of the bale of cotton.
Yeah, it was a forklift, but it grabbed it.
yeah, it would grab it is what it would do. And if he was either loading it on a truck or loading it on in the boxcar, he would pick up his 3 or 4 bales, whatever he picked up. Normally, he was going with twos to get it stacked just right in this boxcar,
And
and
how many total was in there?
they usually put anywhere from 80 to 100 bales if it was making a particular big haul to somebody.
So they were approximately an hour. They could fill one up on a
Right,
good run for an hour.
right, and that meant if they were really trying to get 100 bales an hour, most time they didn't get 100 bales an hour.
Right.
If they got 75 or 80 or whatever it was, because something may break down or it wouldn't miss be. It just didn't run a good run all the time. There was things too many things could happen, and it did happen.
100 was kind of a goal to
It
try to get to
was.
for an hour.
Well, if it was on a Friday and they really wanted all, they would
They
get
were
that 100.
going.
They would get that 100 knowing we were getting off, and man, they would get to everybody get to singing and the talking and carrying on.
When
But
you mean
most
singing, is
but
it?
most of the time they didn't want to be too much interruption with this guy there that was calling everything to do for this lever man. He had to he had to be in sync with everything himself. He was calling him because he was raising the doors up and down to kick that bale of cotton off when they come out of there. And he was watching these other 2 guys. One of them was right in front of him, like I was to you, was right in front of him. And he was turned looking at the bale of cotton. This other guy was down in the hole working with that bale of cotton to put them bands to strap it on there or to tuck it on there, not strapping. It'd be tucking that jute bag in that last band it was coming because it had plenty of pressure.
Well, this has gone by really fast, but and I'm sorry for hitting the camera. And if you heard a weird noise during the video, I think Dad's refrigerator, the compressor, or something. It's very loud and it kicked on. So if you hear a buzzing, it's the refrigerator. You
Oh,
can't blame it on
you,
us.
you can hear it now.
But my last question would be: Is you talked about injuries? Did anyone ever lose their life doing that job, or were they like maimed to the point they never could work again, or at least not do that work?
That's usually what happened. Those guys would work till they couldn't work,
Yeah.
and they wasn't the guy that was hiring, uh, or like Paul Massey. He had to make sure he had a man up there that could stay with that 100 quota because you know, he most of them didn't come there looking for a job knowing they had a finger or two off or something.
Yeah.
But I don't know really what they were paid or benefited from.
Taking
Uh,
risks like that.
yeah, but I'm sure there was some people that was compensated for
Injured
losing a
on the
finger or
job.
two or something because it happened on the job.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll start back right there next week. Time flies by really quick, and I'm glad Dad got a chance to speak without me constantly interrupting with questions. And hopefully, we all learned something. But until next week, everybody, we will see you then. Goodbye.
See you. Take care.